Perfect.
That looks good. Let's see. So I'll just ask that question again. What happened on Saturday? You were sleeping. What happened?
Yep. So I woke up. I was taking a nap, a midday nap at 4:33 p.m. Shots just rang off, and I hit the floor. I just sounded too close, so I checked my camera, and I was able to see basically a shootout happening right in front, where there was a person who felt like he was getting chased. The cars that were chasing him, possibly, we don't know. But again, it just, the next thing I know is the shots are going off. And after those shots go off, 30 minutes later, my renters give me a call. Hey, did you did you hear the shooting? And it's like, yeah, it's hard not to, not hard not to. And jumped in, and they told me, hey, do you have any footage of it? Our car got hit. So the next thing you see me do is go outside and check everything out. And their car got about 5 shots, unfortunately. And then the neighbor house window their upper level unit also window was shot too.
And from what you see in the video, because obviously you live on the same street as your renters, and you have that video, which shows really clearly the shots going off, and then you see a guy off there, and then you see some cars, but that guy was in a car. He got out of a car.
Correct.
Scary, obviously. I mean, you were very adamant in the video. You said, I can't do this. This is not acceptable. What are your thoughts after that?
To be honest, this is the norm. For me as a homeowner, I live in North, I mow the yard, I do all the necessary homeowner things, but I also have to carry my service weapon. I have a permit to carry. This was one of the things I had to invest in, knowing that I was going to buy in this area. And as I've learned the things that are custom in this area, I've become a norm. So unfortunately, this just affected me. Because it affected my renters. I've seen things happen in the neighborhood. There's plenty of footages that happened, indirectly that happens because it's a norm. Problem is, we necessarily react when things start to affect us. And so as it continues to get closer and closer, and now it literally hit almost my home, and also my established business, it's, now I'm going to be more vocal. I've been vocal throughout all the things that I do as an activist. But as a person who intentionally invested in North Minneapolis, I wanted to look like a community. There's always a narrative that successful people move out of the defined hood, but not about successful people moving into the defined hood. And so I give it quotations because I don't see the area as that. I see it as a home, and I see it as a place where it's opportunity when opportunity sees it as that. Problem is we don't have enough people investing in North Minneapolis, and so we see the things that are happening. It's not normal. It's not normal to people who live in Woodbury, Edina, St. Louis Park, because I lived in those areas. I lived in Edina, I lived in St. Louis Park. I moved from those places to North Minneapolis. And so as I know the custom of what life should be, in North Minneapolis, unfortunately, this is a custom. As you hear me having a conversation with my neighbor, and he's like, yeah, this is what happens. And I'm like, what? I just bought the home in 2019. And so I'm a 2-year, I'm recently still new as a homeowner and a landlord. And it's just been an eye-opening experience where, wherever this goes, this is unfortunately a conversation that continues to be not had. We have a lot of the people that are in this area, and if I look at my council member, I'm Facebook friends with them. They know who I am. As a person, what I do in the community. But at the same time, the community we're sick and tired of this. Again, this is random gunfire. My mom calls me worrying, hey, you need to sell the house. She didn't understand I lived in North Minneapolis. I was like, yeah, Mom, I live in North Minneapolis. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. So that's why it doesn't make sense. So my mom was like, what, you bought a house in North? You didn't tell me that. I was like, Mom, I was just excited I was buying a home. Like I'm a first generational homeowner. So it goes into a lot of attention, again, buying into a community that looks like me as a person who's accustomed to live in a community that doesn't, reflect.
And that's great because you're talking all good things, like you said, moving into a community, buying your first home, being first in your generation, giving back to that community that you moved into. So there's got to be some solution. That's what you're asking for now. Is this is a problem, and obviously people in your community know it's a problem. Well, what are the solutions? Well, how can we fix this? How can we stop, me laying down and being scared that a bullet may come through my window?
This is the answer is within the leadership that we unfortunately don't have. We have council members who are supposed to represent the voices, and as they've heard the voices, sometimes the voices are fallen on deaf ears. And so they scream defund the police, but they don't understand it. It's not just the police that needs assistance behind governing a community. And so certain calls need to be responded a lot quicker. If you really look at this call, the police really did respond 2 hours later. And so if there were really people hurt, we wouldn't have known until 2 hours after the fact. This is people's lives are on the line, and if we're fearful in the community, we want to call the person that's there to protect it. So our goal is to have better relationships with with police officers, but also how police the community that they're out to serve.
Exactly, and you have a couple of residents who have, litigation and lawsuits for that very reason,
Right.
because of the sporadic gunfire, and it's freezing outside. Yesterday was one of the coldest,
Yep.
Saturday and Sunday, the coldest days, and this is still happening.
Yep.
So for you, as far as your next steps, I know you said in the video you have business here, you have roots here. Does this make you want to move? Does it make you want to leave?
No, it makes me be more active and have these conversations. And I'm intentionally only buying my rental properties or my properties in North Minneapolis because I really like the area. I have my due diligence of there needs to be more vegan options. I literally am living in a food desert. As a person who's a vegan eater, I read all the TED Talks, all that stuff, and I'm really a part of those conversations now. And as I'm realizing it, my goal is to continue to add my 2 cents and do some changes. So continue to be more vocal with this concept behind gun violence. I want to eventually have one of the they have cop cameras they put on certain blocks that are rough. So request that as one of the things that I would love to have a part of a community. We have a neighborhood watch, but unfortunately, I got to know my neighbors in this light. So I'm going to build more relationships with the people who obviously want to protect their home, because there's grandmothers here, there's dads, there's families here. And so as we're trying to continue to make this neighborhood safe, it's just having that more conversation of how can we do that as a whole.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I do want to ask one thing. That video that you have on your Facebook page, is there any way you can send that to me and we can credit, of course, you,
Yeah.
so we can just show that. I think that gunfire really just will hit home for a lot of people.